To one and all, and welcome to Donington Park. And it's going to be something completely different that we're going to be doing here tonight. Donington Park is iconic. There's no other word for it at this stage of the fight. And Donington Park in iRSA Clio Cup season number 1. This is going to be something else. And tonight we're coming to you from the Second Gear Production Studio. And me, Gary Fleming, I'll be coming to you live from the studio and bringing you all the information that we possibly can. And I think it's going to be utterly brilliant stuff. So let's go and have a look-see at what is going to be happening out there on circuit. They're actually starting with the qualifying right now, and numerous of the drivers already out there on circuit. There's Willem Botha. I see Sandro Bakari out there as well. And there's Sandro Bakari, lovely looking motor car that he's in. Byron Mitchell, one of the guys that is definitely going to be in the top 10, all things being equal. One of the old hands out there. The man that cleaned up last night was this man. And that is Luc Lucchesi. Suisse Hubert in there as well. The Hubert family love to be out there. Julian from the RS. I think he's going to be the man to catch, to be very honest with you. Having watched the practice session and just watching the lines that he's running, it's very, very good. Jaco Stein's right in there as well. Just a tenth off that one. Byron Mitchell, the next man that's out there. And Byron Mitchell is looking pretty good at this stage of the fight. He's just 3/10 off. Gerald Ferry putting in a bit of a banker, first of all. 1.6 seconds. Ooh, he gets the ELF-sponsored Reynolds right off the circuit. Oompie Swart pops up at the top end of the grid. Look at that. Oompie Swart, a 143.426. And that is 7/10 quicker than the banker that was put in by Julian from the RS. Leighton Ferry, ex-Polar Cup champion. Well, what can I say? I don't think he gives a whole heap of beans what the other guys are doing. Excuse the pun. Just look at the livery on that motor car. Leighton Ferry, 6/10 off. But Oompie Swart, blindingly quick. 143.4, 6/10 quicker than Leighton. And then Julian, Jaco, Byron, Gerald Ferry, as we said, putting in a bit of a banker. Nice to see Low Wrigley out there again. And he's 3.4 seconds off. And we're going to chat to you a little bit later about how exactly this one plays itself out to try and be as quick as possible out there. And it's pretty much group N style that you've got to be riding, because at the end of the day, it's a case of you don't have that much power, you don't have that much grip, you've got to keep that pace going all the time. And wherever you scrub off a little bit too much, well, you're not going to be able to catch it up again. You're going to have to just make as little mistakes as possible. Nathan Victor, one of the guys that we're going to be racing at Killarney on a Saturday in the GTI Challenge. And a lot of the Masters guys are going to be down at Killarney as well. Nathan Victor being one of them. There's Sandro Bakari. Ooh, Suisse Hubert has put in a time now as well. Duncan Murray pops up to join the fray as well. He was also racing last night. But let's go to the top end of the pack. So remember, they've got 8 minutes. So you've got one warm-up lap. And then you've got two flyers. Oompie Swart just put up the fastest there, 143.3. Then it's Byron Mitchell, 3/10 off that. And I see a lot of the guys are actually going off the circuit. And because of the flow of the circuit, you find that the guys were actually practicing, if you go off, how to bring it all back together and back onto the circuit as smooth as possible. And I think you're going to find a lot of guys are going to be going off onto the grass and then trying to catch it and get it back on without missing out on too much. My man, which was blindingly quick, Julian from the RS, the Mobile 1 V8 main circuit racer. Julian from the RS finds himself now 8/10 off, and he was, the back brake drums are glowing on the back of that Renault. He was one of the quickest out there earlier on. And it'll be interesting to see how it works out for him from there. Back into the iRacing again is Jarno van der Westhuizen. He hasn't had much time to practice at all. He just got his new rig, and he hasn't been riding for quite a long time, and he is really battling to try and get that one together. And I think he's going to battle quite a bit to be able to be on the pace with the guys here tonight. So 7 minutes 37, that's gone. Most of the guys have completed their laps. You'll see they're starting to drop into the pit lane now. Byron Mitchell still on his way around. He's on the front row of the grid. Nope, he slows down. That's the end of that one for him. So Donington Park, it's going to be iconic circuit. 8 minutes, which will give you 3 laps. That's going to come to an end now. And then we're going to have a 15-minute race is going to be the first one. And then there'll be a 5-minute warm-up. And then thereafter, it's going to be a case of the top 10 being inverted, and then back onto the grid from there. Oompie Swart from Byron Mitchell, Julian from iRSA from Leighton Ferry, Jaco Steyn from Willem Botha. That's your front 6 that's going to be out there. Luc Lucchesi from Piri Hubert, Duncan Murray and Nathan Victor rounding out the top 10. Gerald Ferry, Sandra Bakari, Stephen Duplessis, Low Wrigley, Swayze Hubert, Herman Lazarus, Renier Hubert, and then also Jarno van der Westhuizen. They're all going to be out there on circuit. So that is how it's going to be looking. Let's see when we get them onto the grid. How's that going to look? That's what it looks like. And they're all just about ready to get going. So the Bullion IT colors, the black with the purple, that is Oompie Swart. Byron Mitchell with the blue alongside him. Julian from iRSA, the Mobile 1 colors, then the red of Leighton Ferry. Jaco Steyn is the first of the 2 green cars there. That's the Renault Elf colors. And then on the outside of that is Willem Botha. Then the red car, that's the Momo of Luc Lucchesi, and then the Pennzoil of Piri Hubert is the next one that you see there. That is our front cars as they are just about ready. It's going to be a standing start, and they're going to come off the lights. Here we go, it's all systems go, and a brilliant start there by Oompie Swart. Not that good for Byron Mitchell. Leighton Ferry has to look up on the other side. It's going to be then Julian from iRSA that finds himself with Jaco and Willem Botha. Down into turn number 1 they go, and Oompie Swart has done it all right. Jaco Steyn runs a little bit wide in that 5th position. Luc Lucchesi is right in there behind. Behind that is Piri Hubert. Off they go down towards the, that's past Redgate through Hollywood Corner. Through the Craner Curves they go now. It's Luc Lucchesi from Leighton Ferry closing up under braking. That's not an easy corner. Somebody's gone off. I think it's Duncan Murray. Duncan Murray's gone all the way towards the outside. Through the, underneath the Starkeys Bridge they go. Look at that for 2nd and 3rd. Leighton Ferry and Byron Mitchell. Nothing much in it. Is he going to go for the dive on the inside? No, he doesn't. Through the McLean's corner they go. And now the blind rise up towards Coppers. Oompie Swart from Leighton Ferry under a lot of pressure there from Byron Mitchell. Jaco Steyn is right in there, and off goes Jaco Steyn. He gets punted towards the outside, and that opens it up for Luc Lucchesi. That's the red Momo car. There's a bit of a gap between Luc Lucchesi and Julian from iRSA as they work their way towards the Fogarty S's. Down in towards the Fogarty S as they go, and Oompie is doing exactly tonight what he wants to do on Saturday. Get a bit of a gap at the front from everybody else. Now remember, the Leighton Ferry and Oompie Swart, they race, locking up that right hand back, and that costs him pretty heavily. And then also running wide was Byron Mitchell. So Byron Mitchell runs wide. Julian from iRSA moves up a 1 position, and that's going to make it a whole heap easier for him to try and hold on to the back end of Leighton Ferry as they work their way out into the front main. Up the Wheatcroft straight they go now. Julian from iRSA, Leighton Ferry is in front of him, Oompie Swart's just in front of that. Then it's Byron Mitchell, Luc Lucchesi. Let's go on board there with Luc Lucchesi and see what it looks like from his point of view. That's the view through Redgate going now down. Look at the undulation in the circuit going down towards Hollywood. Then you take that left hand. You've got to stay flat on the gas all the way through Hollywood into the old hairpin. This one, you've got to carry as much pace as possible. Look how much of that inside of the circuit he uses. And look how smooth he brings it back up onto the track, because it's very important when you go back up onto the track that you come on very smooth. Otherwise, these cars just tend to turn themselves around. He gets the tail end hanging, but he doesn't tend to lose too much ground with that one. And Linus Stern, that's what it it looks like. But don't forget about Umpi Swart. That's the man that's leading them out. The Bullion IT car up front. It's lap number 2. We're 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes into it. Leighton Ferree. Right in there with him is Julian from the RS, Byron Mitchell. The red one behind that's Luke Lekesi. Then it's the Pennzoil. That's the yellow car that's in behind that. That is Petty Hubert. There comes Petty Hubert through now. Nathan Victor starting to close up on him as well. Nathan Victor started a long way down. He now finds himself just 4/10 of a second behind Petty Hubert. And that one's going to be a pretty close battle. There's nothing much between the two of them, to be very honest. A little bit further back, the recovering Jaco Steyn is now starting to put a bit of pressure onto Sandro Bakari. The two of them look exactly the same in terms of color scheme. And they're now going to try and have a look around the outside of the 72. That is Sandro Bakari and Jaco Steyn. And then with him is Willem Botha. Let's go back to the front end of the field. It's Umpi Swart that's now starting to break away. A little bit of smoke coming off that right-hand back. Leighton Ferree feeling the pressure. Now Julian from the RS is just 1/10 of a second behind him. He's right up against his back bumper. Look at that as they work their way down through into the old hairpin. Look at that, the back end just hanging slightly out, up underneath the Starkey's bridge. They go. That's for second and a third position, but not far behind that is Byron Mitchell. That's the yellow and blue and black. That's Byron Mitchell. Oh, he locks up the right in front, runs it a bit wide. Here comes Luke Lekesi. Luke Lekesi closes right up. He looks for that outside line. You can see he was actually blocked off there. Byron could see that he was coming, and he closed that line off very neatly and made sure that he holds on to that one. And off towards the Fogarty S as they go. You see the man right in front of you there. That is Umpi Swart. Then that battle for second, third, fourth, fifth, and then the sixth position. There's Peter Hubert. Behind Peter Perret is Gerald Ferree. Then it's Nathan Victor, Jaco Steyn, Sandro Bakari, and then Willem Botha, the next one that's in there behind that. Not that far behind that is Herman Lazarus. He's got Jana van der Westhuizen. That's made up a couple of positions in there behind Jana van der Westhuizen is the recovering Duncan Murray in the GWN entry. And then Swayze Hubert, and then Low Wrigley finds himself with a long way down. And then Renier Hubert, as he's got on the car there, student driver. So Jaco Steyn looks like he's just had an incident as well. So, yep, it's he had a bit of an incident, but he managed to keep it going. So that's the second time that there's been contact between himself and the similarly liveried car in the green Castrol colors as Umpi Swart works his way through. He's got a bit of a gap now from Leighton Ferree. Leighton Ferree to Byron Mitchell. Julian from the RS looking back from Byron Mitchell. That's how close it is. Look at that. It's Julian from the RS, just 2/10 of a second. Underneath the Starkey's bridge they go up through the Schwantz curve. Now up into McLean's. You've got to carry the speed through there very neatly through McLean's. Not that much runoff you see there. There's only the curbstone. He's onto the grass, but he brings it back very neatly. That brings Julian from the RS a whole heap closer. Julian from the RS is now within striking distance of that car directly in front of him, and that being Byron Mitchell. There comes the three of them. Nothing much between them whatsoever. They need to make sure they don't make contact with one another. And that is the most important part of all, because with this type of motorsport, if you do make contact and you lose a bit of ground, well, you just cannot make it up. It's miles too close to one another. That second, third, fourth, and fifth going out of the picture on the left-hand side, that was the man that was leading it. So Leighton Ferree from Byron Mitchell, Julian from the RS going for that outside line. He's going to have to try and do a cutback. No, he doesn't. Luke Lekesi is looking to he almost rubs the back bumper, does Luke Lekesi. So Luke Lekesi's got the three of them in front of him, very, very close to one another. How much difference is there between them? A 43.417. Everybody else in the 44. So Umpi Swart pretty much in a class of his own, with Byron Mitchell doing a brilliant job holding on at this stage of the fight onto the back end there of Leighton Ferree. Let's go one car further back as Julian Familiaris. Familiaris looking towards Byron Mitchell. But remember, there's still action on the go behind him, because that's what's behind him. Look, the Kesey. Look, the Kesey is all over the back bumper, but he's not going to take any chances from there. I do believe that you probably find he's going to wait to see what happens here. Look at this, having a look on the outside line. It's Byron Mitchell and Leighton Ferry. We're on board with Julian Familiaris. That is out of McLean's, coming up towards Coppice. Blind rise, Leighton Ferry closes it off. Byron Mitchell tries to get the perfect comeback. He rubs bumpers, he left foot brakes as they come through the corner. It's Julian Familiaris that was trying to keep a bit of pace there, and he was right up behind them. Look at this, it's all four of them. Leighton Ferry, Byron Mitchell. Byron Mitchell having a look on the outside, and Julian Familiaris closes that line off. It's Luke Lekesi that's right in there as well. There's a lot of action further down, but we've got to stay with this one. This is brilliant stuff. Umpushwat, he's driven into Saturday morning. He's at practice at Killarney already. Here comes Julian Familiaris having a look on the inside line. He makes sure they don't make any contact whatsoever. Luke Lekesi still does not have an answer for this one. We're 8 minutes into it. The four of them very, very evenly matched. A little bit further back is Piri Ube. Now changing the line is Luke Lekesi. He goes towards the outside, tries to do the cutback, gets to the back of the Mobile 1 race a little bit too quickly, and that costs him. Here comes the four of them now across the line. Lap number 6, 8 minutes, almost 9 minutes into this race. Leighton Ferry hard on the brakes and then just lifts it off as he runs it into that first corner. That's Redgate. A brilliant piece of driving by him to hold that gap, and he's bringing with him Leighton Ferry takes with him Julian Familiaris, because Familiaris is going to have to keep the hammer down. At the end of the day, Byron Mitchell is the man that's actually putting the pressure on right now. Byron Mitchell is all over the back of the... Oh, look, Lekesi was off the circuit. Luke Lekesi was off the circuit, but he managed to get it all back together again, going back to the nose cone. And here we go. Have a look up on the inside. Nope, on the outside line. And here comes Julian Familiaris. Familiaris makes that position stick. He's done it all right as Julian Familiaris as he works his way up on the inside. He was just waiting for that opportunity, and the opportunity eventually came for him. But even though we had a situation with Luke Lekesi going off the circuit, he hasn't lost out much whatsoever. Not that far behind them. There comes a Piri Ube, and then a lone drive by Nathan Victor. He's worked his way up quite well, but still a long way back from the lead group. There's Gerald Ferry, the father of Leighton Ferry. Then coming through behind that, the recovering Jaco Steyn from Sandro Bakari, and then the same lookalike car of Willem Botha from Duncan Murray. There comes Jano van der Westhuizen, and he's getting it a little bit better. Herman Lazarus was battling in the practice session. He's got Sway Hubert and Low Wrigley right in there behind them as well. But let's go back to the front end of the pack. It was Julian from RS. Oh, look at that. They three abreast. Who's going to go where? They're going to hold their hammer down, try to close that line off. And he says, nope, you're not going to be able to do that. He's going to stay right there, and having a look around on the outside line would be Julian from the RS. But unfortunately, he loses out. He was hoping to sweep right around the outside of all of them. Now watch as he tries to get it back on the circuit. Very smooth and neat. He gets it back. He doesn't lose out anything whatsoever through the stockies, through the towards the old hairpin they go now, and through that old hairpin up towards the Stockies Bridge. Don't forget about the man that's up dusted and disappeared, the man from Upini Motors, Billion IT, exactly the same livery as what he's got on the car that he's going to be riding in GTI Challenge on Saturday at Killarney International Raceway. Leighton Ferry doesn't give a whole heap of beans about what's happening up front. He's more worried about this. It's Luke Lekesi that's up into that third position. In there behind that is Byron Mitchell. Then it's Julian Familiaris, not that far behind and starting to close up. That is a Piri Ube that's getting slowly but surely closer to that. Not that far down the road is Nathan Victor. It's 5 seconds. It's a big gap, but it's not completely impossible. Remember, it's a 15-minute race. Gerald Ferry from Jaco Steyn. Jaco Steyn was pretty unlucky. He was actually in the top 5, top 6 all along for the practice session, and then getting that contact early on, it just didn't work out for him. There he goes past Sandro Bakari. Back to Leighton Ferry at the front end of the field in that second position. It's Luke Lucchesi, and I think Luke Lucchesi is going to have to be very careful because Byron Mitchell, I think, is going to be the man that's on the move of this group. Julian Familiares, if he can pick up a bit of a toe, remember we're already 12 minutes 22 into this 15-minute race, so there's not a lot of opportunity for Julian Familiares to actually move forward from here. Whatever he's going to have to do, he's going to have to do it very quickly. Let's just do a couple of corners with Julian Familiares as he works his way down through the Craner curves. Look at that, through the Craner curve. Just keep the hammer down. Stay right on the outside of the circuit. Onto the brakes. Don't touch the curbstone under braking. Gets good drive coming out of the corner. Goes in onto the back end of a Byron Mitchell. No way really that you can go here. See the chip on the windscreen. Somebody must have thrown up a stone or something earlier on. The blind rise over the top of the corner of McLean's. Very difficult to work that one out. Even more difficult is the corner they're coming up towards now. That's Coppice. Totally blind rise. You cannot see the apex of the corner. You can't see the exit of the corner either. And Julian Familiares within 0.3 of a second. Let's see, can he get it any closer? Yes, there is a little bit of a draft, but it's not really enough for him to make a move at this stage of the fight under the braking, and it's just about, he just goes right through those bollards. That's there. They take a bit of a hammering. The two of them very close to one another. Umpi Swart has just driven into the future. He's definitely a whole heap quicker than everybody else out there. Leighton Fourie having, after the initial contact that there was with a brilliant dice, as we just about 1 minute away from the end of this race, he's managed to now get a bit of a gap between himself and Luke Lucchesi, but he's also going to have to be very, very careful with that one. The slightest mistake, and Luke Lucchesi will be all over him. Look at the one behind that. Here they come, Byron Mitchell, Julian Familiares in the Mobil 1 car on the outside of the open wheel, the ace in Byron Mitchell. The two of them making space for one another, locking up that right hand back. That cost Julian Familiares. That cost him very, very big time, and I don't believe he's going to be able to make that one up. It's just too big a gap now. Let's go back to the leader. That is Umpi Swart in the Bullion IT car. He is pretty much on his last lap at this stage of the fight. Where's the number one? There's the green number one. You can see the rest of the pack snaking their way through as he works his way through McLean's and using the track and more. Umpi Swart has done it all right. A little bit further back is Leighton Fourie. Behind Leighton Fourie, there comes Luke Lucchesi. There comes Byron Mitchell. And then behind that is Julian Familiares. He stays ahead there still of Petty Hubert. We are just about on time, and it's going to be 9 laps that they're going to complete. Here he comes now through the Fogarty S's. That is Umpi Swart. The next man through there will be Leighton Fourie. Behind Leighton, there comes Luke. Byron Mitchell staying ahead there of Julian Familiares. I believe the order that they're in now is the order that they're going to stay. But keep in mind, the top 10 is going to be an invert. So that means it'll be Gerald Fourie and Willem Botha, if they stay the same, on the front row of the grid, with Jaco Steyn and Nathan Victor on the second row of the grid. Then these front 6 frequent flyers are going to be coming through behind that. Umpi Swart will come through to take the checkered flag. A brilliant drive by Umpi Swart. Leighton Fourie having held off the frequent flyer Luke Lucchesi. Luke Lucchesi in the Momo car comes across the line. Then, just ahead there, Byron Mitchell of Julian Familiares. That almost went completely haywire. Then it is Peter Victor. Nathan Victor, Petty Hubert from Nathan Victor. The next one that comes through behind that, the recovering Jaco Steyn up into 8th position. That puts him on the second row of the grid, with Gerald Fourie on the front row of the grid, and Willem Botha on the front row of the grid as well. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that one's going to play itself out, because they are going to be so close to one another in terms of 10th, 9th, 8th and 7th position. That is, well, in fact, up to 5th, because Julian Familiares was right in there with that one as well. Herman Lazarus working his way around, coming up to finish his race is Herman Lazarus, and he comes across the line. We wait for Renier Hubert. There comes Renier Hubert, and then the last man through should then be Stephen Duplessis. That will be the next man to come through there. So that was pretty interesting stuff, I must say. That was race number 1. There's now going to be a 5-minute warm-up that is going to be for the guys just to take a bit of a breather. 15 minutes of action, that was something else. And now with the inverted grid there, I think you're going to find it's going to become a very, very interesting. So one of the most iconic circuits in the motorsport worldwide, in fact, Donington Park. Places like Melbourne Hairpin, Goddard's, Wheatcroft Straight, Redgate, Hollywood, Craner Curves, Old Hairpin, Starkey's Bridge, Schwann's Curve, McLean's, Coppice. Every single one of those corners are well-known corners, and yeah, for the guys to be out there on a circuit like this, obviously loving every single minute of it. And I believe personally that this is going to be a very popular series. I really do. There is about 17 guys in there at the moment, which is roughly a little bit more than what you've got for the Porsche Cup at the moment. Remember the top 40 in South Africa qualifying for the GT3 series, and that GT3 series comes to you once a month. That is Motorsports South Africa, MSA, iRSA, iRacing South Africa, and the GT3 series sponsored by Canvas Intelligence. 60,000 rands worth of prize money for that one, and obviously massive amounts of interest in that, and everybody wanting to do well as best as what they possibly can to try and get into the top echelons of that one. Remember, everybody that is South African, whether you're in or outside of South Africa, had an opportunity to qualify to be in the top 40, and it was done very neatly. It was well organized. There was only 5 cars on any specific final qualifying session, and you weren't allowed to do any slipstreaming either to pick up any faster lap times whatsoever. So it was a genuine reflection of who the top 40 is in South Africa. The balance thereof, that's still all brilliant drivers. Going into the Pro-Am series, that being the Porsche Cup, so there's 15, 16, 17 guys in that. And then the guys from the Master Series that ride every 3rd and 4th Wednesday of the month, West Province Sports and GT. And remember, Sports and GT will be down at Killarney International on Saturday as well. And those guys saying, but we only got 2 races, plus then, you know, if we're doing the Nationals or the Pro-Am series, let's do something else. And immediately this Clio Cup came up. Remember, the Clio, for those of you that aren't linked to iRacing, has only recently been brought on board, probably about 5 months back, 4-5 months back, that it was actually brought into iRacing, because the Clio Cup series overseas in Europe is actually very, very popular with what they class as one make racing, one make car, that everybody is out there in the same car with supposedly all the exact same specs on it as well, and that's what makes for very good racing. And that's why the guy said this is going to be good. We have tried touring cars, but that somehow turned into a bit of a crash fest. I don't know why. It's very difficult to determine why this series, as opposed to that, this doesn't turn into a crash fest and that did. So although it's great to drive those kind of motor cars, it does create a lot of accidents as such, and that is where the guys decided, let's rather move away from the touring cars, and let's rather have a situation where we go for the Clio Cup as such. And well, this is now the very first round. I'm 99.1 million% sure that you're going to get more guys that enjoying and joining in with this series the next time it comes around, which is in fact in 2 weeks from now. Every second Monday. We were going to do it this Monday, but because of Eskom with load 6 load shedding, unfortunately it wasn't possible, so that's why it was moved to today, and hence the voice of West Province Motorsport, Frankie Yennis, not being able to join us in the studio, and for that reason me doing the whole voiceover for you here this evening by myself. 20 seconds to go till the 5-minute warm-up is done. Remember, the top 10 is going to be invert, and that is going to be brilliant, because then that means that that front group of 5 where there was nothing much in it, those guys are going to be coming from 5th to 10th off the grid. Somebody like Nathan Victor now getting an opportunity to start nearer the front. Jaco Steyn getting an opportunity to start nearer to the front as well. Gerald Ferree, if I remember correctly, will then be on the front row of the grid as well. So that being the case, that's going to make for some very, very interesting stuff. Let's have a look to see what that grid's going to look like. Willem Botha and Gerald Fourie, Jaco Steyn. Remember, he got knocked off in race number 1. He's going to want a result here, and he's going to want a result bad. Nathan Victor also going to be doing GTI Challenge down at Killarney on Saturday. Pity Bay. Now, remember, Pity Bay was actually closing on that front group of guys. Julian from the RS, Byron, Luke, Leighton, Umpi. That was that group that he was actually closing on. So going to be very interesting to see how that one's going to play itself out. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to go through the rest of the grid. There they are. The green lights is on, and they're just about to come off the line. Here we go with that invert. It's going to be Willem Botha from Gerald Fourie. Gerald Fourie comes across the front of Jaco Steyn. Nathan Victor having a look around on that outside line. That's Nathan Victor on the outside of the Castrol car coming through behind that. The first of the big hitters. Oh, and off onto the infield. That's going to cost him big time. And he comes back in front of the whole pack. Willem Botha leading out from Gerald Fourie. It's total chaos. And there goes Julian from the RS. From the RS has gone right off the circuit. And that's going to cost him desperately. He's going to have to try and recover that somehow. Jaco Steyn having had some bad luck. Holds on to that second position. Nathan Victor on that outside line. Byron Mitchell's got himself off the track. He gets back on again. Leighton Fourie right in there. Umpi Swartz already up to that sixth position. Oh, there's chaos going into the top corner. That's McLean's, and we are going to lose a couple of the top guys. That's going to lose out on that one. For them, Bernd from Jaco Steyn, Nathan Victor, Leighton Fourie right in there. That's the front four. A little bit of a gap. Jarno van der Westhuizen is right in there in that seventh position. Here they come now. Jarno van der Westhuizen, Pieter Joubert, that's the yellow one. Renier Joubert and Herman Lazarus in that group. It's all about Willem Botha that's got away at the front end of the field. There goes Willem Botha in the Castrol car. Is he going to be able to do an Umpi Swart and break away from everybody else? I don't think he's going to be able to, because Jaco Steyn and him are very much on the same pace. Jaco Steyn in the 88 car. Nathan Victor, they didn't qualify that well and just didn't have enough time to get any closer, is now there in the mix. The first of the big five from race number 1 is directly in there behind him. The man that doesn't give a leap of beans, that's Leighton Fourie. Then Dad in there behind him. There's Gerald Fourie. Is the next one that's coming through there, and obviously off the start line, a very slow lap time overall for everybody. Gerald Fourie, here comes the next batch. It's Renier Joubert. In behind him is Sandro Bakari. Only then do we see Umpi Swart. So he's got himself tied up in that back. The Pennzoil car in there behind him. That is, now behind him. That is Pieter Joubert. Then a gap going further back to Duncan Murray, who hasn't had that much joy in heat number 1. But Umpi is really batting. Oh, it looks like Jarno van der Westhuizen that went off there in the background. And I think that's going to be the end of him for any chance for a top result whatsoever. For them, Bernd from Jaco Steyn, Nathan Victor, Leighton Fourie. Leighton Fourie all over the back there of Nathan Victor. Now they're accustomed to riding polos against one another. That's the front four. Gerald Fourie starting to lose a little bit of ground to that as he is staying ahead there of the Pennzoil car of Pieter Joubert. Sandro Bakari once again in the mix. But Umpi Swart, it's just not working out for him. As they got some damage on that car from earlier on, well, he's got himself stuck in the pack, and while he's stuck there, the gaps are getting bigger and bigger up front, and I don't believe he's going to be able to make it anywhere near the front four at this stage of the fight. Umpi Swart up on the inside of Sandro Bakari in the 72 car. The Pennzoil car of Pieter Joubert is directly in front of him. Duncan Murray just behind that, almost rubbing his back bumper, was Sandro Bakari. Nothing much in it as they work their way towards the very last corner. That's Goddard's. Into Goddard's they go. And he's now trying to make a plan to get onto the back end of Pieter Joubert. Pieter Joubert putting up 1:45.984. Umpi Swart, well, he didn't get a time that showed there for his last lap. That's quite surprising. So maybe something along with the telemetry that's linking up on that motor car, but not been able to pick up a time there. Let's go back to the front end of the field. Willem Botha in the Castrol colors, the 23 car. He's having a pretty decent run, but as we said, he's not going to have it easy because Jaco Steyn and him are a very, very similar pace through all the practice sessions. Leighton Fourie is now within a second of that. And I do believe that Leighton Fourie might be able to make that tighten up and get into a 4-car battle. Nathan Victor just behind that. No sponsorship on that motor car of Nathan Victor. Then Gerald Fourie. So father and son lying in 3rd and 5th position. Umpi Swart has now got away from the Pity Hubert, Sandro Bacani, Duncan Murray, and now the Julian Familiaris. Remember, right at the beginning, Julian Familiaris ran very wide, and that cost him big time. That was after Hollywood, going through the Craner curves, and he was way, way, way off the track. So for him to try and make up some positions from there is not going to be easy whatsoever. But Julian from the RS is catching up to the back end of a Duncan Murray, and I think he will be on the move in the not too distant future. Going back to Leighton Fourie in that 3rd position. Jaco Steyn's got to be feeling the pressure, because here he comes. He's getting slowly but surely closer and closer. Let's have a look from that left-hand front cam. Leighton Fourie, how much of the track does he use? Most of it, and Jaco Steyn's having a look around the outside of Willem Botha. The two of them making one another use tighter lines. That slowed them down completely, and that's now turned it into a 3-way battle. Look at that. Jaco Steyn from Willem Botha. Jaco Steyn leads them out, and it's Leighton Fourie that's going to be on the outside as they work through McLean's. Oh, Steyn runs it wide. Willem Botha goes up and takes away that position. Leighton Fourie runs through with him. Jaco Steyn just goes straight across the front of Nathan Victor. Nathan Victor pops up on the inside, takes that one away, and Jaco Steyn finds himself a half a second off the back there of Nathan Victor. That is your front four. Let's go a little bit further back. There is Gerald Fourie. And Gerald Fourie is pretty much in no man's land. There's Umpi Swart also in no man's land. Keep an eye on that gap, 2.7 between Umpi Swart and Gerald Fourie. That will give him, if he can catch Gerald Fourie and somehow pass, that will give him a 1st and a 4th. It'll be a pretty decent result for him, no doubt about that. I think he'll be pretty chuffed with that. Byron Mitchell starting to put the pressure on, and Byron Mitchell, in fact, has just gone up past Duncan Murray. There he goes, and Byron Mitchell having that problem earlier on. Now, the next man he's got to try and get to is, let's just go back onto Byron Mitchell. There's Byron Mitchell, and the next man that he's looking for is, in fact, that Pennzoil car that's in front of him. Well, he's first got to try and get hold of Duncan Murray, because Duncan Murray in the GWM entry is not giving that one away very easily at all. Oh, he goes for the dive on the inside, and the two of them tag, and that is the end of it for Byron Mitchell, pointing in the wrong direction. He's not going to be able to recover from that. He turns it around, and that's going to take him a long, long way back, unfortunately. And I don't believe he's going to recover from that. Recovering pretty well is Jaco Steyn. Jaco Steyn in that 4th position, in there behind Nathan Victor. Let's go right on board with him, and let's see what it looks like from there. That's how close they are. Look at that. Under the Starkey's Bridge they go, up towards the Schwanz curve. You can just about see where the apex is now. Blind rise into McLean. Late on the brakes. The front two are starting to fight it out. Leighton Fourie and Willem Botha. Willem Botha is going to have to go on the defense. He goes on the defense. Oh, look at that. Leighton Fourie up on the inside. They don't make contact. How they both got through there, I don't know, but they're right next to one another. Here comes Nathan Victor. He didn't get it all his own way in the first race. They sit side by side. Say, I'm going to fight you. I'm not going to give way for Nathan Victor. He's got to determine who is going to be the man that's going to be the quicker of the two. He initially goes in behind the man that doesn't give a whole heap of beans. Leighton Fourie backs out of it, and here comes Jaco Steyn. Jaco Steyn does a brilliant job of diving it up on the inside. He's now up back into that 3rd position with the Renault and Castrol sponsored car. That is your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th as they work their way through. Willem Botha from Leighton Fourie, Jaco Steyn, and Nathan Victor. So Nathan Victor has lost a little bit of ground to this one, but now remember, coming through behind that, the next man through behind Nathan Victor, that's going to be some pretty interesting stuff, because look who's the next man is going to be coming through. It's Umpi Swart. Umpi Swart's got open track in front of him. There comes Umpi Swart. He's got Gerald Fourie in the Alf sponsored car. He's sponsored He's past him already. Then there comes the Pennzoil entry behind that. That is Piri Hubert, down to Sandro Bakari, down to Duncan Murray. Julian from the RS making up positions. He's up into the top 10. Still got to go a long way from there. Jarno van der Westhuizen, you saw him coming out of the pits. There's Luke Lekisi, long way down. Luke Lekisi and Byron Mitchell from Renier Hubert. Jaco Steyn has just had a change of position. In fact, Jaco Steyn goes to the front end of the field. Look at that one. Jaco Steyn swaps with Willem Botha. Make sure one of the Castrol cars is at the front. I think we must have a look to see exactly what happened there. I think that was Willem Botha initially going off the track. Look at that. Oh, yep, that's what it was Willem Botha that went off. Jaco Steyn goes through, Leighton goes through, and that was how that initial change-up of positions happened. So it's Jaco Steyn that still leads them out from Willem Botha. We are 10 minutes into this 15-minute race, and the two sister cars are running line astern. Jaco Steyn from Willem Botha. There is Leighton Fourie. In there behind that is Nathan Victor. But 0.4 of a second, Oompie Swart doing a Johan Fourie, coming from anywhere in the back of the pack, making a plan and getting himself into the game. And he's worked his way all the way up. He's on the back of Nathan Victor. They'll be running main circuit racing together on Saturday, up on the inside of Nathan Victor, making sure that he doesn't make any contact. Nathan locks up that back wheel. Oompie puts the pressure on. But now the next corner that they're going to come to is going to be Redgate, and he's going to be on the outside. If they touch there, they're going to both end up in the wall. Oompie Swart putting the pressure. Now he dives up on the inside. He's going to have to be late on the brakes. Nathan Victor's got to give him a bit of space. He gives him just a little bit of space. He didn't give him a lot of space because Oompie pushed him pretty wide towards the end. Oompie Swart is there, you can see in the side mirror, and now in the back mirror he is past. And now he's looking at the front three. 11 minutes gone, just another 4 minutes to go. Can he go and fetch Leighton? Is it all? Look at that. Off the track was Willem Botha. He came back on too quickly and he's gone wide again. That's going to cost him big time. Here comes Oompie Swart. Willem Botha's going to miss out on McLean's completely. He's going to have to stay on the grass, and back onto the circuit he comes. They almost make contact. Leighton holds onto that second position. Bird's eye view from Oompie Swart's car. He's onto the back of Willem. Now remember, Willem has led a good couple of laps already. Jaco Steyn's just got to do it all right. Willem Botha slows it all down. There must be something wrong with that motor car. Willem Botha is dropping down pretty quickly. Oompie Swart up into third position. Now Oompie is a regular racer with the likes of Leighton Fourie in Polo Cup, in the main circuit racing in South Africa. Can he close up? There's just 3 more minutes to go with this one. He is a second off. Oh, he dives into that corner. Leighton can't make any mistakes now. Neither can Jaco Steyn. Jaco Steyn leading them out, and I think Jaco has got it all together. I don't think he'll make any mistakes from there. The Castrol sponsored car of Jaco Steyn leading out, and it would be a well-deserved victory for him because he was very unlucky in race number 1. There comes Leighton Fourie. It's Oompie Swart. It's Nathan Victor. There's the recovering Willem Botha in the sister car. Coming through behind that, there's your front 5, 12.5 minutes into it. Let's go back to 6th position. There's Gerald Fourie, a bit of a lonely spot for him, a bit of a lonely spot for Piri Hubert. Duncan Murray behind that, and Julian from the RS not been able to, up till now, get past Duncan Murray. So Duncan Murray putting up a pretty decent pace to be able to hold on to that one. Byron Mitchell, also bad luck initially in this race for Byron Mitchell, and he finds himself a long way back. And the big hitter, Luke Lucchesi, even he's behind Byron Mitchell, even further back. So yeah, unfortunately a couple of the guys that did brilliantly in the top 5 in race number 1 and not been able to put it together in race number 2. But Oompie Swart is onto the back of Leighton Fourie. 13 minutes, 17 gone. There's nothing much between the two of them. We go on board. That is the inside camera shot from Oompie Swart's car. And is he going to go for the dive? Yep, they're going to go down towards the Fogarty curves. Is that the Fogarty curve? Yes, it is the Fogarty curves, and he dives it up on the inside. He's going to go right over those bollards. and he takes up that second position. What an amazing drive. But alongside him, he's still there. He has not got rid of Leighton Fourie. Leighton is right there, and Nathan Victor's coming with the play. Nathan Victor is just hoping that something goes. Oh, that's exactly what he needed. A little bit of grass there for Leighton Fourie. Nathan Victor coming even closer. Willem Botha, that was leading the race earlier on, just a little bit further back. He'll be hoping the three of them actually start running side by side and slowing one another up. It's Jaco Steyn that goes across the line. Look at that, the Bullion IT car of Umpi Swart from Leighton Fourie, Nathan Victor, Willem Botha in there behind Willem Botha. There comes Gerald Fourie. Behind Gerald Fourie is Pieter Joubert in the Pennzoil car. Then the GWM of Duncan Murray is the next man coming through. Byron Mitchell, that's trying to do a bit of a recovery run with Julian from the iRSA and Luke Lukizi. Three of the big hitters, 9th, 10th and 11th position. It's not working out for them whatsoever. What's the gap between Umpi Swart and Jaco Steyn? 2.2. Can he close that down? I don't think so. We're on 14 minutes and 45 seconds. Where are they out on circuit? There you can see the number one. He's got the better part of a half a lap still to go. Jaco Steyn's just got to keep it nice and sweet and straight. 1.6 seconds between himself and Umpi Swart. He's holding on very, very well. There you can see Umpi. Behind him is Leighton Fourie. Then it's Nathan Victor. Willem Botha not being lost there at all. Umpi's not closing. Well, he's down to 1.5. But I think that Jaco Steyn will be feeling the pressure. The hair must be standing up on the back of his neck. This is the last part of the difficult part of the circuit. 2 U-turns that he's got to do. Umpi bringing it down to 1.4, back up to 1.5. It's all about Jaco Steyn. It's all about Jaco Steyn, and I think this is going to be a well-deserved victory for him. Man that does massive amounts of work in the background for iRSA with the GT3s, with the Porsches, now with this series as well, and then also the 4-hour races. Jaco Steyn takes it away from Umpi Swart, Leighton Fourie, Nathan Victor, Willem Botha. As fast as you can say the names, there comes Gerald Fourie. Then Pieter Joubert is the next man that comes through, and then here comes the GWM entry of Duncan Murray. Behind Duncan Murray, the recovering Byron Mitchell. Behind Byron Mitchell, Julian from the iRSA and Luke Lukizi. Big hitters a long, long way down after having not so much good luck earlier on. Renier Joubert, the student driver, just ahead of Jana van der Westhuizen, who is a lap down. Sandro Bakari, Stephen Duplessis. There comes Herman Lazarus. And Herman Lazarus going to come across the line just ahead of Suisse Joubert. Well, he's happy that he managed to finish that one off. The Valvoline and Oreo Renault of Suisse Joubert, as he works his way around the last part of the circuit, coming up towards the line. He's the last man that's still out on track. Oopsie, touches the grass right there on the last. See, Low Wrigley was out after 7 laps. He couldn't go any further, and well, I'm sure he would have gone and watched the live stream and just enjoyed it from there. As the last man out on track, Suisse Joubert works his way around in the Valvoline and Oreo car. Yeah, what a race, what a series. Everything I expected and a whole heap more. I'm sure there's going to be more than just 18 entries for this one for the next round, which will be 2 weeks from now, Monday night, unless Eskom has got other plans. It should all be good to go for next week, Monday, as the last man comes across the line, and that completes it for us. So that was the feature race. Let's look at the results of that feature race. Jaco Steyn must be the driver of the race. Bad luck for race number 1 would, I think, go to Jaco Steyn. And driver of the race, Jaco Steyn. A brilliant recovery from Umpi Swart. Leighton Fourie coming off the second, well, it was with the 8th, 9th position. 5th row of the grid. Leighton Fourie working his way through with Umpi Swart all the way towards the front. Nathan Victor didn't have too good of a first race, but having started further forward, made good use of it and ended up 4th overall. Willem Botha a bit unlucky. They were so close to one another. A little bit of contact here and there. And the race driver SA Esports, Willem Botha, unfortunately losing out on anything better than a 5th position with that one. And then behind that, Gerald Ferree, a good ride for the privateer Gerald Ferree. Pity Hubert, Duncan Murray. Duncan Murray, also the Goldwing Motorsport. I think if he had more time to practice, you would have probably found he would have been further forward. Byron Mitchell, first race, brilliant, representing Durant Motorsport alongside Julian from the RS. And then Luke Lekisi of the Race Driver SA Pantera Racing in 9th, 10th, and 11th. They were in the front 5 in the first one. But that just shows you the quality of the rest of the guys, because once they got stuck in the pack, it's not that easy to get through. Renier Hubert, Sandro Bakari, lovely to see Sandro out there again. I hope he can get his Opel Cadet, the T-car. I hope he can get that one sorted out. He rolled it at Rallycross a week and a bit back. So hopefully he can get that one sorted out and back out with the Rallycross at Killarney. From Stephen Duplessis and the cheapercars.co.za, Herman Dazers. I'm sure he'll join us up for GTI Challenge in the commentary box on Saturday when we go out live to you from Killarney International Raceway. Folks, it's been an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. It was brilliant stuff. Let's just have a quick look at that heat number 1. Heat number 1 was Umpi Swart from Leighton, Luke, Byron, and Julian. As I said, those guys, Luke, Byron, Julian, completely out of position, but Nathan Victor having got up to 7th and then making use of it and getting himself then into that 4th position for the feature race. There we see Nathan Victor, so 7th and 4th, so it was a pretty good outing for him as well. From our side, Gary Fleming, thanks very much for joining us. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. I think it was brilliant. I think a lot of excitement around this series, and looking forward to coming back to you with the next one in Monday a week from now. Frankie Yennis, the voice of West Bromwich Motorsport, will be with me, Mike's side, for that one, and really looking forward to it. For the rest of you, I'll see you down at Killarney International very early on a Saturday morning for the next round of the regional racing. Good night to you folks, one and all.